Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Thursday and it's May the 7th, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently on these YouTube streets that you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. So feel free to like and to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And our story today is coming out of the city of Charlotte, here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, North Carolina man is sentenced to over 100 years for child sex crimes. I'll provide you with a summary here, and I'll identify some of my sources for you in the description box. Now, one of the things I've learned when discussing child sex crimes is that justice for victims can be delayed by many years, even decades, because victims do not always report their crimes immediately. But every once in a while, we're able to report with conviction. That delayed justice does not necessarily equate to justice being denied. In our video today, we'll discuss a predator who got away with his crimes against children for a very long time, but now he's going to jail for the rest of his life. So the focus of our story today is on 56-year-old Wayne Goff, also known as Ray Goff, a resident of Mount Holly here in North Carolina. Now, back in the 1990s, Goff was a professional skateboarder and eventually a coach of the sport. Now, because of his expertise in this sport, he was often sponsored by smaller companies, and he would travel to competition, often taking young skateboarders with him. So he was interacting with a large number of youth, both male and female, and that was the population he preyed on. But that was over 30 years ago. But what was done in the dark don't always stay there, as we're about to see in this case. So let's bring you up to the present. Back in February of 2022, Charlotte Mecklenburg police investigators received an email from someone who identified himself as a victim of a sexual assault, and he was asking for help in reporting the incident. That individual in that email told police he was 13 years old at the time when he was violated, and of course he knew his attacker. His attacker was Wayne Goff, the person who had been a skateboarding coach at the time. And this is what prompted him to contact the authorities. The victim is now an adult with children of his own. Well, he told authorities that his son wanted to learn to skate. And as soon as his son mentioned that to him, the victim said he didn't want to teach him to skate. And the emotions associated with the experiences he had as a child skating started to overpower his memory. So he contacted the police and asked for help reporting his abuse. And that victim must have provided police with information that made the police take him seriously. Charlotte Mecklenburg launched an investigation, and the victim was able to identify a few names from the past, and some of them were contacted. And they also told authorities that they too had been violated by their skateboarding coach, the same coach, Wayne Goff. So Goff was arrested, and he was initially charged with 4 counts of indecent liberties with a minor and statutory sex offense with a child. That was on March the 21st, 2022. He appeared before a judge. He was assigned a bond. The bond was less than $60,000. He was able to pay that bond, and then he was released until his first court appearance. But investigation into Goff's crimes continued as police continued their search for victims. And there's some who might say or question why the incident is being reported now to police some 30 years later. And my question is, or my response really is, why not? I read an article from an agency, the Alliance for Children, just to gain a better understanding of why children do not readily report sexual abuse. And the source indicated that it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon that children might delay reporting by months and years, many years, as we're seeing in this case. Now, some of the reasons the source indicated that the children might be confused. They might think that if they reported, they would get in trouble. They may not want to get the abuser in trouble, and sometimes not wanting to disrupt a relationship that serves them purpose, such as in this case, this was a skateboarding coach. He was somebody who was well respected. He was taking them places, probably doing things they normally could not achieve in other areas, and they valued that. So because of that, they were willing to keep this secret. And after a while, as time went by, it became a secret they held on to for decades. But time can become a deterrent to prosecution because memories fade, people relocate, some die, and in the end, it becomes more difficult to locate victims. And this delay can definitely hamper an active investigation, as was the problem in this case. There was a delay as the police made a plea for victims to come forward, and there's no guarantee today that all of the victims have been identified. Now, 6 weeks later, it was now early May of 2022, 10 additional warrants of indecent liberties were issued. So he was now rearrested at his home, charged, and this time he was held without bond. And of course, Mecklenburg police continued to appeal for additional victims to come forward. Police say a total of 11 victims were eventually identified. The majority of them were men, but there was at least one female, and they were all in their teens when they were abused. All of the crimes were believed to have occurred between 1990 and 2009. So he was eventually charged with a total of 28 counts of child sexual abuse. But these charges were not just out of the blue, they had been red flags in the past. There had been prior accusations, prior arrest, and one conviction. Investigators discovered that Goff had been charged with indecent liberties with a child back in 1995. Now, he was charged, but he was never convicted. Then in 2007, he was charged again and pled guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I'm not sure what sentence he was given. And I'm sure with so much time having passed, I bet he was completely taken by surprise when investigators began focusing on him once more. So now he's charged with 28 counts of child sexual abuse, and there's absolutely no guarantee that all of the victims have been identified. And now fast forward to April 2026. In the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, Goff was found guilty on 18 charges of child sexual abuse. Remember, he had faced 28 charges. He was found guilty of 18 of those charges, which included 14 counts of indecent liberties with a child, 3 counts of statutory sex offense with a child, and 1 count of second-degree forcible RAPE. Reports say that 10 of the survivors testified about the terrible trauma Goff had caused them. And when everybody had completed their say, the judge then sentenced Goff to 116 years in prison, which is essentially a life sentence. After all those years, justice was finally arrived. Dwayne Goff will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Now, maybe it was just a coincidence that this sentencing took place during the month of April, which is Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. A very appropriate timing. But after the sentencing, the Chief of Police, Estelle Patterson, did issue a statement in which she said that this 116-year sentence ensures that this predator will never again harm our community. Let the sentence serve as a reminder that there's no statute of limitation on these crimes and the pursuit of justice. And our department remains steadfast in our mission to protect the vulnerable. And then she concluded with a special message for survivors. She said, to the many survivors who still carry this burden in silence, just know we're here and we will fight for you. But in order for her and her department to fight for you, you must first step forward and share your story. And that's all I have for you right now, but feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video, and by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks like just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.